Creative Come Up is brought to you by Jones Management. Follow us on Instagram at Managed by Jones and tune in to new episodes of Creative Come Up every Tuesday wherever podcasts are listened to.
What's up, everybody? I am excited. I say this a lot when when I'm starting this podcast, but it's the absolute truth. This is somebody that I've been wanting to have a conversation with for a while now. I want to say it's probably been maybe about a year since we went out to lunch, and we were able to just kind of like talk for about an hour or so. And I'm really excited about this platform because it gives me the opportunity to have these conversations. Of course, normally conversations is not with the microphone and the camera and all that stuff in front of us, but I think it's the beauty of it because a lot of times when I'm having conversations like I'm going to have today with my brother, I always be like, man, it would be so dope if I was able to record that and just let some people hear it. Because just through conversations, so many gems, so much just great stuff is said, and I always want to be able, and sometimes when I go back and I tell people I don't say it right or I don't say it the same way you do, so it don't come off the same. But today I have my brother. This is someone that I've connected with recently. You know, I don't have the story to say, oh, I've been knowing him since we was little or nothing like that. But it's been a divine connection. I've known his wife for a long time because we grew up in the same area and same circles and different things of that nature. But to have the privilege and the honor to be able to build my own relationship with you, it's been amazing. I have my brother, Prophet Ward, Frederick Ward Jr. I'm excited about this. This is a man of God that's been just, in my opinion, just me before we were able to really connect. You were somebody that I was looking at from afar, and I was just saying like, man, he's doing it.
Glory to God.
Like I don't really know this guy like that, but he's doing it. He's making it happen, and I just love the way that he's doing it because he understands it, and that's kind of where I actually want to segue our conversation. But before we go into that, but for the people, and of course I never like to take too much time doing this, but of course I want to be able for you to give your proper introduction. But I know you as a worshiper, I know you as an anointed preacher, a prophet, but before all of that, where did this come from is what I want to know. So where was the passion for God, the passion for music, the passion for uplifting people? Where did that come from? How did we get to the Frederick Ward Jr. today that we know?
Well, first of all, Mike, I want to thank you for having me. I am honored to be on this platform with you. It feels like we're just sitting in the lunchroom just chilling. So I like that. But man, this all started at the tender age of 6 and 7 years old. I've been literally preaching since that age. I've been in church. I've been in music ministry since the age of 8 years old. And so my parents will tell you, my brothers and sisters will tell you, my teachers will tell you, anybody who knew me, they knew that this is what I would be doing at this age.
Wow, that's amazing.
So I just told a story on Facebook the other day about how I would preach at home. And my mom's house was my church, and I would run week revivals in my room.
It was like, y'all better be here.
Yeah,
I got a time. Don't be late.
Don't be late. All the teddy bears need to be lined up at this time. No, but that was my call, and I grew up in Chicago at Liberty Temple Full Gospel Church, and I came up under Apostle Clifford Turner, who was a pioneer in what we see today. And so how we see media and how we see the spirit of excellence in a lot of churches, he was one of the first that the city of Chicago and even some in the world had ever seen do ministry at that level. And so that anointing, that mantle is on my life. And so I was just talking with Pastor, and I was telling Pastor Ramirez about how he was doing the awakening, and he was doing television and Christian television in the 80s, the early 80s.
That's crazy.
And so
that's crazy.
That was my inspiration. And to this day, a lot of what you see me do, you see of my spiritual father. And then my father, My natural father was in music ministry. My natural father is a pastor.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm a PK.
Yeah.
And I was my father's minister of music at the age of 12.
Wow.
So I've been doing
You
that.
said this has been me.
It's been me my whole life. So music ministry, singing. I started preaching seriously in front of people at the age of 14.
Wow, that's
And
amazing.
I started to travel and preach at the age of 21.
That is amazing.
And so this has been my whole life, pretty much. And so the Fred that you see on a live, my wife will tell you, is the same Fred that wakes up in the morning and prays and sings throughout the house. And that's just because that's who I am. He's the God of my childhood.
That is amazing.
And that's what I love. I've been doing this my whole life. And it grew from religion to relationship.
That's amazing.
Recently, I would say that.
Yeah.
So the more trials I've gone through, I've seen him as the God who brings me through. I can now preach about struggle.
Yeah.
I've been through it.
No, that's amazing. Because I can definitely agree with that. You know, as a person that has grew up in the church as well. My mother was a pastor. She was a minister of music. She was all of the above. And to be involved with ministry since the age, for me, it was the same. I want to say 5, singing in the choir, going with her to rehearsals, being there with her as she's writing her sermons and different things of that nature, and being involved in that. It gives you a different outlook of it, and God is always in your life, but it becomes those moments come when you get older, where that relationship,
you find them for yourself.
Oh, and one of the biggest thing, and I tell people this story all of the time. I thank God for my pastor, Pastor Donna Ramirez, for that reason. He was the man that taught me about relationship.
Wow.
You know, my mother introduced me to God.
Yeah.
But he was the person that helped me understand that I just can't know him and know all about him. I have to actually build a relationship with him. Yeah. And that's where the testimonies come from. That's where the true anointing come from. You truly just having a relationship with him and building that. It's funny, we had the honor to go to your multi-general prayer gathering. Right. And we had the time, it was my first time being able to go. It seemed like every year it was something that kept me from it. But and that was actually one of the events that I was actually looking at, and I'm like, man, he's doing it right, you know, and the way that it was, you know, being not just only promoted, but being executed. I always respect it because it's a right way to do things.
Yes,
at the end of the day, it's a right way to do things. But and we're gonna get into that because I want to have a conversation a little bit about that and what you've built through that. But it was so funny. We went, and I brought my wife with me because my wife, she's, you know, been in church, but it's still kind of new to her. So when I made the decision, when I was like, okay, I'm going to go, because, you know, it sold out, y'all, real quick. So I didn't even know I was going to have a seat in the house, you know. But when I was, you know, blessed with a seat in the house, I told her, I said, you know, I got an extra seat. If you want to come, you can, you know, but if not, you know, I was going to take, you know, one of my friends or whatever. But she's like, no, I'll go. And I told her, I said, now, it's not your normal church service now. We're going to be in here some time. We're going to have a good time. And she's like, no, I'm going to go. And a person that was there, Bishop Jacobs.
Oh, wow.
Did his thing.
Yeah.
And like I've always known him to do. And we were on the ride home. And she's like, man, it was amazing. You know, she's like, man, you know, Prophet was amazing. Everybody was amazing. Bishop was amazing. And I was telling her, I said, I've been knowing of course, I don't have a personal relationship with Bishop, but I've been knowing of Bishop since I was 6 years old.
Wow.
And I told my wife, as a kid, we went to youth revivals that he was the preacher of. Yes. I said, this is the same Bishop.
The same Bishop.
He wasn't Bishop then, but it's the same guy that we see today.
Yes.
It's been that forever.
Yes.
I went
stuck there
to Mount Herman, and he's doing those youth revivals. So I get that, and it reminded me of that, of just a person that people may see at the platform or whatever wherever that they're at that moment, but not understanding that these individuals, yourself, the bishops of the world, all of these men of God that we see, we don't understand these guys have been doing this for years and years. You just now seeing it. Yeah. But, before it was a camera, before it was live stream, before all of that, you guys were doing that. And it's amazing. But I want to talk a little bit about the importance of marketing and media in the church. And I want to go to, before we go into the church period, I want to talk about you and your wife.
Okay.
So you and your wife, you guys have personal brands.
Yes.
That it's been so executed so well. And it's so funny. Last year, in the midst of me being stuck in the house and not really knowing what to do, it's so funny. I started my business out of frustration. It's funny. We actually, not in this room, we sat in the room across, and I have the privilege and the honor to be one of the leaders over the young adults here at the Cross Church. And we did a vision party. And we had this long sheet, and we all wrote out our visions for the year. And this is before any COVID, anything. This is like January 2020. And we did this, and on my sheet, I said I want to start my business, and I had it all set up. It was so funny. I had it all set up on how it's going to be executed. I was actually going to be an owner of a banquet facility in 2020. Partner in with a good friend of mine, Lou. He's actually the owner of Acorn Fencing. And I was going to partner in with my friend Lou, and we already had the building, everything, and we were going to actually be releasing a banquet facility in 2020. COVID hits, no banquet, no nothing, no events, nothing is happening. And I am now laid off from work. I'm at Majestic at the time, and I'm laid off from work. The business that I believe that I thought that God gave me is not happening. Everything is just, and I'm sitting at home and I'm frustrated. And I said, because I'm a person that's on the move, and I make things happen. I'm always on the move. And I'm sitting at home, and I don't know what led me to it. But I said, you know what? I'm going to just record a video of myself talking. This is what I'm going to do. And I recorded this video, and the video was on how you, personally, Malcolm Jones, Frederick Ward, anybody is a brand.
Yes.
You're a brand.
You're a brand.
And if you don't take care of your brand, no matter what you're going to do, if you're going to be a business owner, if you're going to be a pastor, if you're going to be whatever, nothing will succeed properly if your personal brand is not intact.
Exactly.
And I did this video, and the response that I got from that video is what led me to the business that God birthed through me. Few months after that video, gave me the idea, like, man, you should talk about marketing. You should be talking about branding, because I did it for years, but it was a hobby. It was just something that I did on the side. But I said, hey, I'm going to do this for real, and God blew my mind, from just an idea a year from now to now sitting here and to have multiple clients and being able to sustain myself as just a business owner. It's been amazing. But I bring all of that up to say you and your wife have strategically said, you know what, we're going to properly brand ourselves right. Not thinking about ministry right now, not thinking about business, any of that. We're going to start with our brands and make sure that our brand is correct, is promoted well, and you guys do it very strategically. What led up to that? Like, what made you guys have that mindset? Is this something that just kind of happened, or was it something that you guys actually purposely did?
Well, I've always operated from the spirit of excellence, and so when I met my wife, I was her minister of music at her church.
Gotcha. Okay.
So my wife began a ministry at her church called Rise.
And, I remember that. Yeah.
She was doing her thing, and when she created it, we were dating at the time, and I began to express to her the importance of branding. Now, this was before branding was a thing.
Yeah, now
Everybody's talking about branding. And my wife told me this, and she gave me this credit. She said, honey, you were branding and you were talking about marketing in 2013, 2012.
That's amazing.
And we began to talk about it, but I was telling her, I said, you know, whatever flyers you put out, whatever services you do, they must have an element of excellence connected to it if you want people to be connected to it.
Yeah.
So when I designed one of my wife's Rise shirts, she ran all of her flyers through me and things of that nature. And so we began to talk about the importance of it, to the point where when she began to do her conferences, when she began to do the things that she's done, she took that little bit of what I was doing and telling her, and she expanded it.
Just built on it.
And so how we personally became a brand is, I told her, you know, God wants to use us as a template in public to how, whether it's relationship, marriage, whatever it should be, for people to not mimic, but for people to mirror. And so we knew the importance of watching what we posted on Facebook, watching who we vented to, watching who we talked to, because all of that is a part of our brand. All of that is a part of our brand. And so, and the reason why I say it's a part of our brand, because if you vent to the wrong people, but you promote something on Facebook, then people will be like, that ain't who they are.
Exactly.
That's not genuine. But if I share my struggles, if I share our breakup moments, if I share, that's all a part of our story. And so even till as 2020 came, and me and my wife got married in the midst of a pandemic. And our wedding has almost 30,000 views.
Exactly.
Our wedding has almost 30,000 views. And my wife, I never forget, it was like in the beginning of our relationship all over again. I said, babe, if we're going to do a virtual wedding, we can't just have a wedding.
Come on now. Come on.
We have to do this in like a Emmys or Grammy style wedding.
Exactly.
So I said,
we're gonna do it.
We gotta have a pre-show. We gotta have amazing music. We gotta have the right preacher. And the preacher that we chose wasn't because of branding; it's because of relationship.
No, without a doubt,
But he added to everybody's.
It was hilarious.
Who is one of my mentors?
It was amazing. It was a show.
And so we had 1,000 people steady on the.
No, definitely. I was one of the 1,000. Yes.
On the live, and to this day, it's about almost 30,000 people. And so I told her, I said, that's a part of the brand. And so our hashtag was award-winning wedding. Or forward wedding. And people still walk up to us and say, man, that's the forward couple. That's the award. And the challenges and the warfare still came in the beginning, because, man, we had 1,200 guests at our wedding ceremony. It was going to be at my home church. And we had 1,200 guests.
Wow.
And we had 350 guests at our reception. And so we had to go from 1,200 people in the building to only 70.
Wow.
And then we had
I know it was definitely for y'all. That's a struggle. That's some hurt feelings.
And so then we went from 350 to only 125.
Wow.
And so it was a crazy season, but I what we learned together is how to build in the midst of chaos.
No, definitely.
No,
and I think that's super dope that you started with that mindset. And I want to know, like, was it outside of just wanting excellence ever since a young child and all that great stuff? Was there any inspiration from just a person or anything that kind of led to, like, I want to carry? Because I think that's something that people fail to understand, and to understand how much. And I want to go into this as well, not just understanding, like, I need to carry myself as a brand and carry myself a certain type of way where I release certain things and I post certain things and I do certain things, but also for people to understand the opportunities that come from that. It's a two-way street to understand that I'm doing this because I want to be represented in a way, but I'm also doing this because I'm able to survive off of this. I have a client and a really, really good friend. He's actually one of the episodes of the Creative Come Up Charity Croft on how he was able to build this lifestyle. And I sit back and I looked at him and I told him, I said, bro, you have a condo in Hyde Park, Chicago. You do as you please. And when I say do as you please, I mean you can go into any restaurant and you can cover a bill. You cover my bill anytime that we're together. And I always see you go shop, you go on trips. He's a guy that goes, like, oh, I'm over here in Mexico, I'm in Thailand, I'm in all these different places. And I said, you don't have no 9 to 5. But it's because he took care of a brand.
Yeah.
And he built it. Mm-hmm. And now he sits with an Instagram following of 300,000 followers, and opportunities come. Mm-hmm. Can you promote my brand, or can you do this, or can you do that? So I know that it's the perks that come with you guys taking care of your brand, of the opportunities that have came. But was there any motivation that drove to say, I want to do this because this person is doing it well, or if it's something that just was internal, that you just kind of came and it birthed just from you just wanting that?
I think it was more internal. Growing up, my mom shopped at Aldi.
Okay.
And we didn't have Fruity Pebbles. We had Fruit Rice. Right. And Cocoa Rice. And so I vowed to myself that if I could, I would never shop at Aldi. But this is the revelation. Why is Cocoa Pebbles more famous than Cocoa Rice?
Yeah.
It's because who's on the box.
Exactly.
You got the Flintstones on the box. Yes. It's a nice.
We all know the Flintstones.
Right,
we don't know that brother that's on that Cocoa Rice.
We don't know who that Cocoa Rice guy is. But I said that to say is people pay for what they know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it can taste the same. It can be the same product in the box.
Mm-hmm. You
could probably pull the bag out of each and won't be able to tell. But what people are paying for is who is on the box.
Yes,
and so
that's good.
When I think about branding, I think about why would people go to your product or what you do or what it is that you build over the person down the street that's doing the same thing? It's because of how you execute.
Bro, I've said that so many times for people to understand. It's not about, I don't care, like when you start something, I start something, whoever's watching this, and when you're starting something, you have to understand it's millions of people that's going to be doing the same thing that you're doing. Yeah. But it's all in the way that you present yourself. It's that personal brand. Mm-hmm. Because I tell everybody, I don't care what you're getting ready to start. If it's a ministry, if it's a business, the first influencer, the first brand ambassador, the first all of that is you. It's you. That's why I always tell people that when I go and I do consultations with people in businesses that come to me and say, okay, Malcolm, I really want to start taking my business off the ground, or I'm doing this business startup for them. I always tell people the first video, the first presentation, you have to be in front of that camera.
You have to be in front of it. So this means that how I present myself is the way that I'm going to pull in what I'm trying to pull in. Bishop Jake says it this way: your brand is your bait.
Yes.
Your brand is your bait. So what does that mean? Before you open up your mouth, before you say anything, what you put out there is going to show the person how your event is going to be, period. So I know we're not talking about MPG yet.
No, but we gonna segue. It's a combo. We go.
But MPG was supposed to be called the Freedom Summit, and I was going to do it in 2015. But nobody knew who I was, and I didn't really have a weight out there in that in the market of spirituality and church and things of that nature. I was preaching, I was still doing, and so in 2017. I was on an air mattress in my living room because there was a fire in my building, and so we had to move from one apartment to the next, and my furniture was still in the old apartment, so I had to sleep in my living room on an air mattress, and God woke me up. I was uncomfortable anyway, but God woke me up, and God told me, and I'm walking, and my eyes are barely open, and He says, I need you to do the millennial prayer gathering. And I'm like, I don't even know what that is. I don't even know who's going to come to pray.
Right.
God, my generation don't pray no more. We just like to go see the preacher and get prophecy.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, I need you to do the millennial prayer gathering. I need you to do it. I'm going to bless it. I'm going to finance it, and it's going to be successful. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to obey you.
Yeah.
And immediately I start calling the people he told me to call and who to put on it. And everybody that day said yes.
Wow.
To the price I gave them, not to their price. Because I ain't got
That's
no money.
key. That's key.
I didn't have no money at the time. And the one thing that the Lord kept showing me is that you have to execute this in a way where when people see your flyer, they're going to want to come to your event.
Yeah.
So I couldn't do my flyer in Microsoft Word Art.
Come on now. Please don't do that.
I couldn't let people, watch this, I couldn't let people that I know who would do it for cheaper, although the person who did it for free. Right. I didn't let somebody who I knew do it without excellence. So the person who did it at the time did it, and I was able to put my stamp on it, how I wanted to see it and how I wanted people to view it. And it was going to be in Chicago, so I wanted the Chicago backdrop on the flyer, and I wanted people in the city who were doing great things at the time.
Yeah.
And so we branded it, we marketed it, and to my surprise, what I thought only 25 people would show up to, we had over 150 people.
Wow.
The first time we packed out City of David Church, a church I used to serve on the west side. Shout out to Pastor Beard. We did it one night, and people were talking about it.
Wow.
Like, man, y'all missed it. And so I was like, okay, God, that was dope. That was dope. That was nice. That same year, my car got repossessed. Wow. That same year, I was renting rental cars and making things happen.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God, okay, I'm out here doing this, but I ain't got no car.
Come on, God.
And so we did it, and then the Lord, we did the second one. And when we did the second one, that's when people started to hear about it, because that was the year we had Apostle Phil Tarver, and we had Darlene Nichols, and we had different people come, and we hosted it at a bigger space.
Awesome.
And so I'm like, okay, God, you got me doing this, and I don't know. And then so I'm like, we'll do it again. We can do this again. 150 people. I did it before. We can do. He said, take it to a bigger space. Wow. And I'm like, wow. And so there was a pastor by the name of Pastor Giselle Lindley, who was a pastor of Transformation Church in Chicago.
Oh, wow. Okay,
She invited me in my ministry to do it, and they put out 250 chairs, and we packed it out. Wow. And so I'm like, okay, the first year's budget was $1,300. And I'm like, man, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot.
and then we get to year two, and year two was $3,500.
Wow.
I said, man, God, we do some big things.
Where there's money coming from, God?
And so we get to year three. Now, year three is my personal favorite, because year three is the year that our ministry took its biggest leap. Wow. And so the Lord was like, yeah, you can't do it at Transformation. I said, but that's the biggest church. We don't do none of that. He said, I want you to do it at New Beginnings Church of Chicago. This church sits 1,000 people. I'm like, God, we only had 250 people.
Yeah, that's a big jump, guys.
It ain't jump like that. I ain't see like no crazy like jump. And he told me who to invite. We did year three. And year three, people were talking about year three from February 21st, 2019, or 2020. Yeah. Till the one we just had, which was year four. Now, year three was a blessing, because we opened up, and our budget was well over $10,000 for one night. Wow. And we pulled in 1,000 people. Wow, that's amazing. One night. It shook the city, all because of obedience. But I want to pay attention. I want us to get back to the conversation. No, yeah. What mattered was the branding.
No, without a doubt.
So this was the year that me and Alex, we were engaged.
Yeah.
And I didn't want her to work with me on my ministry stuff yet, because I'm like, God, I don't want her to get comfortable just in case we don't make it. And so, but the Lord used my fiance, who was my wife now at the time, because she's the branding manager for My Oil Organics. Yes. And so I put my wife at the time, my fiance, I put her over our branding. Yeah. Now, I personally thought I was a better brander than my wife.
Yeah.
But it just shows you when you put your wife in the right place, she can take your ministry.
Come on now, help me. Come on.
And so my wife had the idea for pins and no. I got to be honest. I went to Mike Todd's conference.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Come on now.
And when I went to see Mike Todd, I wasn't going to see nobody that preached. I'm like, okay, God, I'll need to take this MPG thing to the next level.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to get ideas. So when we got there, they had badges and bags and pamphlets and things.
Excellence.
I said, God, we're doing this for MPG.
Yeah.
One night, and everybody got a bag with pins and bracelets and all this other kind of stuff.
That's
and my
amazing.
wife executed it, and we did shirts. We had a shirt out there that's very controversial, but everybody's wearing it.
Mm-hmm.
It was I cannot give them the shirt.
No, give it.
It was a shirt that said "Hell No."
Yeah, no, I wanted one, and I saw you wear at on a live.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
You know, I'm controversial, so I said I like it.
Yeah. But we put John 3:16 on.
Yeah.
So people like they not cussing, but they're cussing. And so we did the shirt, and the shirt blew up, and we did our MPG shirts, and then we had 30 people sold $300 into the event.
Oh, that's amazing.
And we blessed them each, 300 people. We blessed them, 30 people. We blessed them with the bag and the new shirts that came out.
Oh, dope.
And so that was one of our biggest years branding, to the point that this year when we did MPG.
Oh, it's gonna go crazy.
Yeah, in 25 minutes. People don't believe this. I didn't make this up. My administrator told me this, and we have documentation to prove it.
Wow.
In 25 minutes of releasing registration, we only were allowed 120 people, and in 25 minutes, the seats were filled.
And I can attest to it, people. I can attest to it. I saw the post, and I said, cool. And knowing me, I go to do something else. So then I seen the live stream. You went live soon after.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, it was my reminder. And I go, and then I'm like, then I go back to the live stream. The live stream is him telling that it's sold out.
It's sold out.
I was like, oh, well.
25 minutes, but that's not the most people are excited about the live stream. I'm excited about we got the list of how many people we reached.
Wow.
And I said, God, if we reach 1,000 people, I'm good.
Yeah.
If we reach 2,000 people, I'm good. When I got off of the live, when we got off the live that night, we had reached 7,000 people.
Wow.
But that morning, we got a report that overnight, we had reached 20,000 people.
That's
through
amazing.
MPG. And so God had totally just did his thing off of obedience.
Man.
But branding was important.
It's so important. And I'm so glad that you brought up Mike Todd.
Yeah.
Mike Todd. Man. Man. That man of God. I will tell you, I've had these conversations with people. I look at me as a media director here at the Cross Church. I will say what the people over there at Transformation Church is doing. When you say mirror, when you say model, when you say of the new, and I want to say this and I want to say it correctly, they are such of a model of the new generation of the church and where the church is going.
Should be going.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, and we've all the time, and of course we put our own TCC and our own cross spin on it, but I look at them so much as a model, as you did for your conference and your event, is looking at it as like, man, this is a model. I'm looking at the way that they do things in excellence when it comes to the branding and the marketing and everything that's associated with it. I want to know your thoughts. This is what I want to know your thoughts on, because this is something that the church is struggling with. When we begin to talk about brands, when we begin to talk about marketing, when it comes to church, the church gets real shaky where is this entertainment or is this edification? Is this teaching? Is this, and we go into this battle, and I see it all the time. And I know a lot of churches, they get a little stubborn with it because they begin to get into the thoughts of, I don't need to do all that, and I ain't had to do all that, and why do I need to do all that now? This man got rain on the stage, he got thunders and bolts and all of these different things, and it goes into the production of what he does. And I understand it. Me, as a branding person, as a marketing strategist, and all of those different things, I look at it and I get excited. I say, wow, this guy, because I look at it because of reach.
Yeah.
That's what I look at.
Yes.
I look at it because of reach, and I believe that he understands that I have to make this more appealing because I'm not trying to be attractive to the people that know God. I'm trying to be attractive to the people that don't know God.
Exactly.
And I want to hear your thoughts on this, and I'm using Michael Todd because I think he's the individual that get probably the most slander when it comes to this subject, the most, because I think he is the most theatric pastor that we have right now in America, or in the world, just period. Yeah. So what is your thoughts on that when it comes to the branding and the marketing of and I want to say, not so much in the church generally, but as in pastors that create these brands and that create these theatrics during their sermons and different things of that nature to expand their reach to reach more people?
Well, I always talk about Solomon.
Okay.
And I talk about Solomon because God always made sure that whatever he did was branded well. He always made sure whatever he did was branded well. The Bible talks about how Solomon built the temple and how amazing it was that the temple was the greatest structure that in human history has ever been erected. Wow. It talks about how the floors and the ceilings had gold, and the beams in this temple were of the greatest wood that you could find. It was so amazing that the Queen of Sheba got word about this temple.
Come on.
And she was like, yo, I got to go see what Solomon is doing, all the way where she is.
Yeah.
And I believe she went on what some would say a 4 days journey just to get to where he was to see. And when she saw it, the Bible says that the breath in her was taken, which means she literally fainted.
Wow.
And when she came back to herself, she says the half about this place has not even been told. So she saw it, and what she had heard that drew her to it wasn't even enough to be able to explain what Solomon had built to the glory of God.
Wow.
And so when I think about a Mike Todd, when I think about those that are building structures to give God glory, when we talk about him inviting a film crew in so that Rain can be on the stage and he can look like he's in the boat, it is to reach the person that will never watch someone sitting at their desk doing worship or talking. It is to reach the person that may be more visual than they are a learner of reading, or they're just a visual person. He's reaching the people that are unreachable. And I believe it goes to when Paul says we have to become all things to all men so that we may reach some. He's reaching beyond his limitations in that he's not just trying to preach, he's trying to reach. If we take P out of preach, it is the word reach. So you have to reach people. And I think what happens is that many churches become really is jealousy because I didn't think of it first, or I don't have the money to do it.
No, definitely.
It's a lot of jealousy, and we should be clapping and applauding ministries likened to him that are reaching beyond the four walls. And while our churches are closed, turning them into television studios.
Yes.
So that we can reach those that are around us, that are out of our reach. And so I went to the building. I've been to Transformation Church, and I was there for the Transformation Conference. And I'll never forget sitting in that sanctuary the last day when God told him not to go back to their old location.
Wow.
They had no equipment. They had rented the equipment for the weekend, but they had nothing.
Yes, I've heard that testimony.
I'll never forget reaching in my wallet and grabbing all of my money and making sure that I went home with no money in my pocket. I went home with nothing to make sure that I sold everything into that man of God, because I saw what the Lord was doing with him.
Yeah.
And I said, God, if I want this same favor to be on my life,
I got to sow into it.
I got to sow into where I'm trying to go into. And so I said that to say a lot of churches are being jealous or a lot of people are being jealous when they should sow into it so that flow can come to them.
No, yeah.
So that flow. And so I think the struggle in church is we're trying to figure out how can I do it like them without saying, God, okay, grace me to do it that way, God, the way that you see fit for me doing it.
No, yeah.
Because he may be reaching 20 million people, but I can reach the 20,000 people around me if I take that mindset and try to recreate it. And so it's Dr. Darius Daniels says, what is the word that he says? He says, if you have eyes, plagiarize. And what he said there pretty much is, if you see it, repeat it, and God will give you your own way of doing it.
No, without a doubt.
We are the generation, we want to be originators so bad that God has put blueprints out there for you to follow. And if you follow him, he'll allow you to build a structure the same way, but it'll look totally different.
No,
because he's
time.
a God that can give a different grace to
No, and I think it's so important, talking on the reach, seeing what God even did for you with, the generational prayer gathering, is to say, you were able to get those 1,000 people, but it turned it when you made the prayer gathering a TV show, a visual thing. Now you can reach so many people. I'm sure it was people in Africa, it's people all over the world that never would have had the opportunity to have that impact, everything that night just that it included. They wouldn't have been able to experience it because of whatever reason. I don't have the plane ticket, I don't have the funds, I don't have whatever, but the reach went so much further than what it would have ever, done if it even was no COVID or whatever. And I think that is something I tell people all the time. If you're not leaving as a business, a church, or whatever, you should be leaving this pandemic stronger. You should be leaving it on a whole nother level, to the point when it's that time to open the doors fully or to get back to whatever. The reach that you should be so massive if you would have took advantage of the moment, of the time, of the opportunity, of the reach that was out there. And I think that is so key. And I tell people all the time with their businesses, I thank God for the pandemic. Now, of course, not for the things that what happened, but I thank God for it because it put people in the position to take something serious that I feel that nobody was taking serious.
Man.
And that is the importance of not just so much of your branding and your marketing, but the importance of social media. The things, and I want to even talk about the people and the things that you've been able to accomplish through live streams, through these different things that you started to do when, in the midst of this pandemic. I'm sure of the opportunities, all of the things that came because you didn't sit dormant. And I want to know, what was that motivation and the feeling, and what's been the outcome of since you've been doing that? Well,
I'll tell you this. Before the pandemic, I started preaching on Facebook Live.
Wow. Which is true,
And so I started in 2017, 2016, doing something called Declarations Over Our Day.
Yeah.
And I have been doing it, and when I tell you, every preacher was making fun of me, like, oh, he got a church online. He got online members. He got people tithing. He's sitting in his room preaching onto a camera, and
this brother crazy.
He's crazy. What is he thinking? You can't have no online.
It's a joke.
It's a joke. We get to 2020 and everybody's online. Everybody's preaching to their camera.
Exactly.
Everybody's trying to get to that point. And I said, wow, it's amazing how the same men that stood in their pulpits and verbally assaulted me and are the same people that had to go completely online. And I'm like, it's amazing how God flipped the tables as to where he allowed me to be ahead of and I ain't got no church. I wasn't trying to steal nobody's church.
It's just like, I'm just being obedient.
I'm just being obedient. And you know, the flack and the warfare that came with it, but it reminds me of how I was raised, that whenever you are a trailblazer, you're not so much blazing the trail in the ground, you're blazing the trail in the air. You're blazing the trail with people. You're pushing past the people that are going to have to come and literally do what it is that you're doing in order to survive. And so I saw churches in this pandemic who had not changed their audio equipment since '99. I saw them have to get their audio equipment out of there.
Scrambling.
I saw these same people have to change the way they do church. And if you have not upgraded yet, you're behind.
Shame on you.
Shame on you.
Shame on you.
When the people come back, yes, people are coming back to church, but everybody's not going to be comfortable.
Oh.
Some people are going to be online members.
Online members. Yes. It's just, yes. And it's so crazy because it was so funny. We were having this conversation. The funny thing about it was when we was having the conversation, who were we talking to? Well, we were talking to somebody. So one of our camera links. So we have Sling Studio here at the Cross Church. And one of our camera links went down. So he's like, all right, Pastor, like, okay, let's order, whatever. Sling Studio was so in demand that they told us we can have a camera link to you in May. We were looking in January. I said, wow. Yeah. I said, but it showed how much that people were looking into it. And I want to even go further into what you were talking about. It's so crazy because we went into this thing with Michael Todd, where it not only just Michael Todd, but the Michael Todds of the world, the T.D. Jakes of the world, the Keon Hendersons of the world, the Stephen Fredericks, all of these pastors that had a strong online community before all of this ever happened. People started to give so much, local pastors began to get so upset because it was so many people that were sitting at home instead of going into a brick and mortar and watching these guys. Yeah. So now it comes a prophet war so now you have people that's sitting at home and I'm watching a prophet war. We're not understanding, and they're giving flack to it, not understanding the season that we were getting ready to go into. And what God was speaking into you and speaking into these other people, because these individuals that I'm speaking in, and I'm even going to put my pastor on that list because he was back in 2016, he was the one that pulled me from being a pool member and said, I want to work on live stream. Let's figure it out. Yeah. And investing into it, not not cheap stuff. It's like, hey, this $3,000, this $5,000, this and this that, and him saying, okay, we need to invest in this and we need to make it happen. It was those pastors that were proactive in that survived. But this is a key thing, and it was so crazy. I was having a conversation with someone literally last week. And he said something that I said I had to walk away and come back. He said, businesses that are so focused on right now will fail. The ones that are focused on what's next is always going to succeed. Mm-hmm. It wasn't right now at the time back in 2019, 2017, 2018. Being so strong online wasn't that important. Mm-hmm. But it was the people that focused on the next to say, I'm going to see where this thing is going and to see how this online community, and like you're saying, your spiritual father understood this in the 80s to say, I need to get on TV. It's because those are the individuals that understood the importance of reach, that understood the importance of next.
It's beyond my crowd.
It's beyond this 200, 300, 400, 500. I don't care if it's Michael Todd got thousands of people. And he said, it's not about this 6,000 people that's sitting in this arena. It's about the millions that I can be reaching for God. And it's the same thing for businesses. It's the millions. You're focused on selling your product to the person in front of you, where it's somebody across the sea that will be more than happy while you bickering with the person next to you. But it's for you to understand the importance of digital marketing, understanding the importance importance to making sure that your brand is exposed and that it is presented on the digital platforms of Facebook, all these other things, and just understanding the importance of it. And I do want to commend you for being obedient, but understanding that way early.
Oh, it had to happen. When I knew that I was talking to people from Chicago, sitting in my apartment in Maryville, when I was talking to people who were in South Africa,
Wow.
who were in a different time zone, but when they logged on to my live, they were in the same moment as me.
Wow.
I knew that, okay, this is something that God is doing.
Yeah.
And I have partners in London. I have partners in South Africa. I have partners who have partnered with my ministry from continents away, and it's because I obeyed God. To people would be asking me, man, where are you sitting? What are you sitting in the hallway? Where are you preaching from? I was in my vanity mirror.
Wow.
Set up with my scriptures and my sayings on the wall that I knew
Wow.
would be taglines. One of our taglines was, "This day must obey my decree."
Yeah.
And we would say that, and people would hashtag that, and people would tag me in the statuses and things of that nature. And I knew that was important because of where we were going.
Yeah.
And now you're not known unless you have a hashtag.
Yeah.
Your church is not surviving unless y'all have something that they can relate to.
Exactly.
To do this. And so I saw how important that was. And I mean, I wasn't the only one. There were others that saw it. But I do know, and this is a message to the person that is called to brand at the next level, is that you will experience warfare from doing it first.
Every time.
Every time.
They're going to call you crazy.
They're going to call you crazy. They're going to make fun of you. They're going to say, what is he doing? He's just trying to get known. But even beyond me doing it online, we were seeing people get healed online.
Wow.
People were getting healed in their bodies from us doing these services. It wasn't even a service. It was a live video. From me doing these live videos, people's lives were changing, and they had prophetic words that came to them that shifted their lives. I was from online, I was called on to 1390.
Wow.
You know, nobody knew who I was, but because I was doing these online videos, my ministry grew to the point where I was preaching in Evanston, Illinois, and different people were calling on me because I obeyed God in that moment.
Yeah.
And so branding in the beginning may not make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing how many people want to do something that's never been done, and they don't even know what that's about.
Yeah.
Because when you do something that has never been done, nobody's coming to it when you first do it.
No, you're right.
It ain't never been done.
Exactly.
So they ain't never seen it before.
Yeah.
So you got to do it consistently.
Stay the course.
Yeah.
Stay the course.
Yeah.
Consistency is the key for it, because you got to you're already here. You got to catch everybody else up. Yeah. But you have to consistently be here in order for it. Because if they're going and you go away, then it's okay. Like I can't never get to it. But consistency is such of the key. And I know we can just talk for hours and hours and hours. And I know that we coming to an end. But I want to say the biggest thing that I want people to even just take away from where this conversation, the multiple places that this conversation went, I just want people to understand and know the importance of personal brand.
Yes.
I think that was something that was so profound and so important for people to understand. Personal brand, and then when it comes to ministry, just the importance of not just you preaching, but you reaching. And I think that is something that is so key. But bro, it's been an honor. I know we're gonna have more of these conversations. Y'all won't be able to see it because those other ones ain't gonna be on no camera, no mic. It's just gonna be me and bro. But this was amazing. I had so much fun, and I'm happy that you guys were able to see the process on how he was able to use his creativity, use the things that God gave him in order to get to his come up. He's a man of God that is continuing to travel this world, that's continuing to flourish in his marriage and his family, has a beautiful daughter on the way in May. So he used the creativity that God gave him in his personal brand and in the ministries that he has started in his event, Multigenerational prayer gathering that's expanding to cities and conferences. He used it for the come up. up, and I'm glad to be able to talk. And I pray and I hope that this motivated someone, inspired someone. But I love it. I love you guys. You guys stay tuned. There will be a new episode next week. I hope you enjoyed this one. Go see some of our other ones. But I'll see you guys next week. Creative Come Up.
Bless you guys.